Alright, now I'm going to show you some unique chord positions that Don Reno used over the years. And the first one I'm going to show you is out of a D position, a regular D position, and I'm going to hold down my strings that I've got mashed out of the D position on the first and second. So I have my fingers on the 4th fret on the first string and the 3rd fret on the second string. That's right out of that D position, those two notes. Okay, but I'm going to switch my hand around so I can grab this note with my ring finger, which is the 5th fret on the 3rd string. Okay, and like I said, that's a D7 chord. Don used this chord a lot, especially in fiddle backup. He used it in a bunch of his tunes too, things like Ridge Runner. Like that, and just move it anywhere there's a D position. Don also used another chord out of this same position, and all you need to do is just bring your pinky and put it directly under your ring finger on the 2nd string. So like that, and that's a real pretty chord there. Alright, this next chord I'm going to show you is basically just Dill Pickle Rag. If you've ever heard Don do Dill Pickle Rag, this is how he starts it. Okay, and what I'm doing here, we're playing off of an F position is what we're doing. So the way to remember where to put your fingers to do this chord is wherever your pinky is in your F position, that's where you want to bring this down and mash across the 1st and 2nd string. So that's where your pinky is. You want to come down here. Alright, and I've got this barred at the 5th fret on the 2nd and 1st strings, and I'm going to come over here and grab this note on the 3rd string on the 7th fret. So this is what it sounds like. And Dill Pickle Rag, and move to A. Here's your A chord, but remember where that pinky is, that's where you want to move this position down to. Then you move it to your D chord, like that. So alright, and he used that a lot, especially in fiddle backup, behind a fiddle player doing a shuffle or something like that. Another chord that's real similar to that one, or similar sounding, is like this. And this chord is almost the same thing as that one, except we're going to keep these mashed down on the 3rd and 2nd strings, but we're going to move this finger back 1 fret. We're going to move this note here back 1 fret like this. So instead of, I'm going to move this note back 1. Okay, now instead of that being a G now, this is a G when you do it with this position. We're going to be playing off a bar position now. So if you're playing a tune that goes to G to D, and then it goes to D. Alright, so we're playing off of this bar position now with this position. And that's the way to remember where to put your fingers when you do this particular chord. So if you want to play this chord when you go to D, this is where you would bar your finger to do a D chord. Well, that's where you need to put that first finger, is on that 7th fret. Same thing with A, or because you would bar here to get an A. Just move these fingers back. So, and this particular chord is the same chord that Don uses to play Redskin Rag or Cincinnati Rag, whatever you want to call it. It's the same tune, and it runs through E, A, and D. And that's pretty much his first break on Cincinnati Rag, the beginning of it anyway. But that's a real good chord there. And Don did that a lot, like I said, behind fiddle backup, especially behind a fiddle shuffle, when a fiddle does his shuffling. He would play along with the fiddle player. Alright, I'm going to show you a interesting A chord that Don does a lot, and he uses this one probably more than your standard A position, especially when it's in a passing mode like E-A-D. Alright, and all I'm doing is, this is your normal A position. I'm keeping the middle and my pinky where they are in that A position. And I'm leaving the second string open. So I've got my middle finger on the 6th fret on the 3rd string and my pinky on the 7th fret on the 1st string. And the 2nd string is open. He uses this in Limehouse Blues and a bunch of other tunes. So now you can also bring your finger and mash down this 7th note on the 4th string, like that. And he uses this one quite a bit in things like 3-finger hop and skyline drive, things like that. He also uses it in Banjo Special for a few seconds when it goes to A. So that's the chord. It's the same as this one. Like I said, a lot of times he'll just hit the bottom 3 strings, like Limehouse Blues. And while I'm there, I'll show you this chord too. We hit on this a little bit in I Know You're Married, but the Limehouse Blues made me think of it. When Don does Limehouse Blues, he comes to that A that I showed you, and then he goes to a barred 7th position. And Don used this barred 7th position a lot. And it's wherever you have a barred position, like if you want to play a G and you want to do a G7th, you just bring that note on the 3rd string back 2. So you come back 2 frets. Like that. Now Don would also use this particular chord to do a pull-off like this. And he would bar the frets back here on the 5th fret, or wherever you're doing this barred position, you would bar it back here where the 7th note is, and use his ring finger to pull off. So like that. Alright, now that I'm talking about pull-offs here, I'll show you another good 7th chord that Don does. And all it is your F7th position. We touched on this as well on the Chuck Berry lick during the brush section. And let's see, like that. And all I'm doing is barring across the 1st and 2nd strings. If we're going to play a G7th, we're going to bar across the 1st and 2nd strings on the 3rd fret, and then just finish out your F position, like that. Now Don used this one a lot, more so than, I'll say, when you go to your C7th. Don used that C7th more than this C7th, which is real common in Scruggs playing. Okay, you can see that. Don would use this one instead. Alright, and now a real interesting thing about this particular chord, Don would do this. Okay, I'm sure you've heard that before. And all I'm doing is I'm pulling off those notes on the 1st and 2nd strings. Like that. And you can do it in any chord. It's kind of like the open notes during the single string that I was talking about before. You know, it's so fast and it gets clipped by your fingers when they come back down, so it just gets clipped off there. I always thought that was a real cool lick there, and all I'm doing is I'm going back and forth on the 4th string. Like that. Alright, I'll show you another chord here. And this particular chord Don uses in Banjo Special. It's kind of a strange little chord. And in Banjo Special, it runs through an E, A, and D, kind of like Cincinnati Rag. So I'll show you the E. What you want to do is your E chord's back here on the 9th fret when you bar it across. Well, that's where you want to start putting this finger on the 2nd string. So you're going to put your finger on the 2nd string on the 9th fret, and then you're going to come over and grab the 11th fret on the 3rd string and the 12th fret on your 1st string, like that. And that's how you remember where you put the chord or start the chord at, is that back finger back here. You know, it's going to be on that barred position that, you know, you want to be in. If you want to be in E, you need to put that first note right there on that barred position. So when you move up to A, your finger will be where A would be. Like that, and just do, you know, whatever roll you want to do. It's kind of a odd 7th chord. You can do the same thing in G, like this. It's kind of strange sounding. And another chord Don would use is, we'll use A as an example, but you can do it in any position, any F position, like we said before. Alright, and what I'm doing is I'm holding down those 2 notes that we did earlier in that other A chord, but I'm going to switch my hand around like this. Use my middle on the 1st string and my 1st finger on the 3rd string, and catch this with my ring finger. My 2nd string on the ring finger on the 8th fret. And what I'm doing is I'm catching this 7th note out of your F7 position. Like that. Don used that one quite a bit. And this is the position he uses for 5/8 when he goes okay, and all he's doing is he's coming over here and grabbing this note while he's rolling on it. Alright, and when I'm grabbing that note like that, you can actually use that chord too. Don used that one as well. That's also another chord. So I'm grabbing, for that particular chord I'm grabbing, it's almost part of a G. Your G note is the 7th note for an A chord. So I'm grabbing that partial G and coming back and hitting this note out of your A chord. Again, you can move it to any barred, or not barred position, but any F position. Like that. And any of these positions, don't be afraid to use your brush technique with them. Don did, like so. Just things like that he would use in his backup and some breaks that he's done. Alright, I'll show you a couple more positions here. This position here is pretty much just a C7th with the D string or the 1st string open. As I said before, Don liked to use the D string or the first string as a drone. So in this particular chord, we're going to do that. Okay, and Don used that one quite a bit, and this particular chord is the one he uses in Tennessee Cut Up Breakdown. So the chord progression goes from G to C, or C to G, and all I'm doing is sliding that same position up, and we're playing out of a D position really. Like that, and you can bring this anywhere on the neck. Alright, and he actually hits this a little bit in Banjo Special as well. He'll come up to the E up here. Oops, I missed it there. So start at that E. It's not quite the right roll from Banjo Special, but you get the idea. He does that in E. You can do it there. Do it in A. Do it a C up here. You can even bring it up here and do the D. Like that. So you can get all kinds of sounds like that. And I'll show you a couple more chord positions. It's actually more of a lick than it is a chord position. And I'm sure you've heard this before. Okay. Well, Don uses that a lot. And not only do you do this, you can do this. So you can use that particular chord to lead you into another chord. Let me show you what I'm doing here. All I'm doing is playing, it's an F position, it's out of an F position, and I'm just grabbing this note on the 5th fret on the 2nd string. A lot of people think Don did this lick by just moving the F position back and then back to the original position, but that's not, this isn't right. That's not right. What Don's doing is he's playing this E minor position against the major G position. So like that. You can actually hold the whole thing. You could do it on the bass strings. Alright, and again, you can do that anywhere on the neck if you're playing in an F position. Things like that. Alright. This same thing works when you're playing in a D position, but you have to do a different minor chord. And one of the ways to remember that, if you do your F position D here, well, you play this minor chord. That's going to be a B minor. There's a B. There's a B minor. Well, that B minor is what you're going to play against your D chord. So it's the same position we did here. Alright, but if we want to do it out of a D position, the same chord applies. So I'm going to play a B minor against that D. Just going to be a different B minor position. Like that. And it's like an A minor shape, but it's a B minor. Here's your B chord. So it's the same thing, except for I'm flatting this note. And that's a B minor. So you can play this particular shape against a regular D position. So let me give you an idea. Let's see. Like that. Okay, and you can do that anywhere on the neck as well. Like I said, any D position. And you can brush it. You can roll these positions. Like that. So play around with these chord positions, and they'll add a lot of spice to your backup and to your breaks and tunes that you do.